Does it look like it's recording yet?
Yeah, I do see the, yep.
Yeah, all right. It still says 0 here. So anyway, welcome to the call. This is Friday evening for most of you in the U.S., and it's little after 9 o'clock on Saturday morning here. We're coming up close to Christmas time. And the first thing that I want to say is that Christmas is more or less a non-event here in Thailand. There's nothing to it. And that the only signs that you'll see is occasionally in a bank, a Christmas tree, or at the Western big retail places like Tesco and Big Mac and Macro rather and Big C. The sales clerks will wear the red hat with the white top. And that's Thailand's nod to Christmas. And also, something funny happened several years ago. I haven't actually been doing my visas on Koh Samui. I get it all done here on the island now since COVID. But back before COVID, the visa was necessary to go back and get the visa, and we just planned on doing it on the 25th because we know that the office was open. And the funny thing is, they had a little Christmas tree there at the immigration office. It was also, the surprise was nobody was there. It was empty. All of the Farang thought that it was a holiday, and so they didn't go, but the visa office was open. There's also another point is that before the King Bhumibol died in 2016, Thailand celebrated his birthday, which was in early December, the 5th of December, and that all the big hotels and all the big retailers in Bangkok would put out string lights that looked reminiscent to Christmas. And they would leave them up past Christmas. And everybody who was a Farang would thought that those Christmas lights were, in fact, they were just there because of the king. So much for Christmas in Thailand. And yet in the U.S., it's a pretty big deal. Is that right, DJ?
Oh yeah, in the U.S. and Canada, it's pretty big in terms of, holidays.
Starting with Black Friday and even earlier than that, that's the time of the year, in fact, that I've heard that many of the retailers don't make any money all year long, but then they'll make up for it in December. That December is the time where everybody gets um, a lot of buying done, generally in the name of gift giving. That's the whole point, I think, about Western Christmas is nowadays. I think it actually happened back in the 1930s when the retailers there figured out that they could make a lot of money on Christmas. And so they started advertising and making a big deal that, in fact, before the 1930s, even in the U.S., Christmas was not that much of a big deal. But it's become a big deal, almost now a tradition, coming up on about 80 years, 90 years of Christmas being a big deal in the sense that this is the time of gift giving. And that we would want to point out that there's generosity or gift giving is something that we can do any time of the year, but there is a kind of mentality about generosity in the sense of Buddhism. That in the West, giving someone a gift is, especially at Christmas, is almost mandatory, or giving someone a gift at their birthday. And so the first story that I would like to tell is Grandma came at Christmas time and gave her grandson a gift, a pair of socks. And when he opened that gift of a pair of socks, he looked at it, he looked at Granny, he threw the socks on the floor, and he walked out of the room. And Mom called him down and says, "Aren't you even going to thank Granny for this?" Well, you see, Granny didn't put any thought into that. She did that almost mandatory. That, in fact, this story kind of comes from my own grandmother, that she gave everybody $20. Now, in 1970, $20 meant a whole lot more than it did by the time that she had died, which was 2001. And $20 kind of meant nothing, but she had gotten into the habit of giving everybody $20, which means she didn't have to do anything, and it didn't mean anything. It was actually just a kind of an obligation, kind of a symbol. And this is not really generosity. This is just giving gifts because it's kind of mandatory. That, in fact, back to the story, if Granny really wanted to have a good relationship with her grandson, she would have gone around to moms and dads and uncles and whatnot to find out what that grandson really wanted. Like, I remember years ago, there was a movie about a boy who wanted a BB gun, and nobody wanted to give it to him. Do you guys remember this story? And people
You'll
keep
shoot
saying,
your eye out.
"Yeah, you'll shoot your eye out." Exactly. All right. And so we don't give people the gifts that they want. We give gifts that we want them to have, and will not give them the gifts that they want. And
We
this is
give
a
with
really,
attachment.
pardon?
We give with attachment. Often.
Yes,
We're
it's
still glued
attached.
to the gift.
Hmm. We're supposed to. It's an obligation. Now,
Ritual.
if that grandmother had found out that her grandson wanted a bicycle or maybe wanted a pony, she would have got him what he wanted. And then he would have been really excited. He would have loved his grandmother because he gave her back the gratitude of having gotten a gift that he actually wanted and could use, or whatnot. Now, people will say, well, if she gave him a pony, that's a real obligation. Well, maybe the pony doesn't stay there that long. If it does become an obstacle of concern with the parents, they can, with the grandson's permission, or maybe let him figure out that the pony now is too much. But if that's what he wanted, he got what he wanted. And this is the point about the generosity: is when you give gifts, give people what they want, rather than giving them something just to fulfill your obligation. And this is really the heart of the teaching of the Buddha. Is that generosity and gratitude are twins, or they're the same side or different sides of the same coin, in the sense that if you give someone what they want, they will be grateful, they will have gratitude, and it will cement the bond and make the people feel close. And this is the whole point about the generosity, that it's part of the Sangha. And so one of the things that I'll mention is that I saw this over the years, not just in one occurrence, but an old monk, when he would die, before he died, he would give his walking stick to another monk who needed it. And that walking stick was then cherished and then handed down to the next monk. So that some of the walking sticks that you'll find in Thailand may be hundreds of years old, because these are some of the very few possessions. Bowls, for instance, and robes, for instance, wear out, but a walking stick can last for centuries. And so this is kind of a prized possession. Some of these walking sticks have gotten quite a history to them. And so because it's been given as a gift generously, time after time after time, it builds up its own kind of ethos. And so This is what I would want to point out is that we need to develop a generous heart to give people what they want rather than giving them what we want them to have. This is the real issue of generosity. And I've seen that over and over and over again, that most of the gifts that people want, they don't get. They get some piece of junk that they don't want. And so at this time of year, be kind of attentive to find out what it is that people actually want so that you can give them that. Now let's talk about one of the best gifts. In fact, this is quite well known in the circles of the Buddha, that the absolute best gift that you can give someone, and everybody wants this, is joy, freedom, the Dhamma. This is absolutely the best gift that you can give. But you have to be careful with it because a lot of people don't know the value of the gift, and so they don't want it. This is actually the underlying foundation of why Buddhism, in general, does not proselytize. You have never seen a Buddhist come to your door, hand you a pamphlet, and try to get you to come to their temple or what or anything. That in fact, that's one of the issues that we can see with all of the Asian temples that have come to the West. That I've seen a Google search where they have more than 1,000 Buddhist centers and temples in the West, or actually in the United States. And I have personally been to maybe 100 of them, but that was a long time ago. That now, the last time that I talked with Achan Reet in in Seattle, the name of the Wat, by the way, is Wat Atamayata, and that he said that now there are more than 200 Thai Wats in the United States. Well, most of the Wats that I visited in the U.S. were Lao and a few Cambodian. That just because of the situation that I was in, that I've only actually been to a few of the Thai Wats, those in North Carolina, in Chicago, and in L.A. But the Lao Wat's been all over the place because I was living with some Lao monks for several years. And that one of the things about them is that if they have a website, that website will be in their native language. If they, every week, they will have some sort of ceremony. In fact, in Thailand, they have Buddha days, but the Buddha days can be either 7 or 8 days, depending upon the moon. And that means that the calendar kind of floats. But because of the West having the idea of a weekend, that's happening more and more. In fact, in already in the U.S. and also more and more in Thailand, that the Buddha days will wind up being on the weekend, where everybody goes to the Wat on the weekend. And so this is a good day to visit the Wats, would be on a weekend. Then in fact, the ideal time would be like 10 o'clock on Saturday or Sunday morning is the best time to go. And you will find them very friendly, very warm, very welcoming, because they want people to want Buddhism, but you don't see the lay community of Buddhists, Asian Buddhists, out knocking on doors, advertising, or doing any of the kind of stuff that you see in Christianity and other religions. There's no special dress codes or anything like this. So we have to kind of want Buddhism. But if you do want it, that's the place to go. I find so many people going to places like Reddit, going to paid retreats, buying books. In fact, a lot of students keep saying, well, what kind of books should I read? And I mentioned a couple from Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, like the ABCs of Buddhism and a Handbook to Mankind. But I almost always mention that the right book to read is the one between your ears. This is the real teaching, is you're going to find what you need to know by looking within. But Buddhism doesn't actually go out and advertise or proselytize or try to bring people in. And so, like Islam and Christianity, many of the people who have been converted to those religions over the centuries, and therefore their posterity, their families down through history have remained in that religion, but they were converted to Christianity almost by force. And for sure, Islam, they were converted by force. But I would assume that had that not happened, or if Buddhism doesn't proselytize, and therefore it's a kind of a minor religion. There's only like about 500,000 as opposed to billions in the bigger religions. But I think that Buddhism is going to grow, and the reason for it is because people are beginning to see that they're not getting what they actually need from their religion, and that Buddhism will actually give that. It'll be offered if you want it. So the whole point then is, individually, when you guys are going out and giving people that you find in the offices, in the stores, in the schools, in the parks, or wherever you go, give people the gift of the Dhamma only as much as they want. And the first thing that we can give people is a smile. That's a universally well-received gift. It's not always received, but if you keep smiling, even an angry person will receive that smile. Well, hello, Michael. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, I'm talking about generosity and offering a smile, so I offer you my smile. I'm glad to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I offer you mine back.
Yeah, so that's an example right there of what we're talking about, is give people what they want, not what you think they need. Like an example of that is advice. Wow, can we give advice? I've got so much advice to give, but I'm cautious about it because I know that advice is not generally well received. Is that true, Corey? Yeah, advice is a gift that is not generally well received. And so this is the whole way of doing it, is that you have to do an investigation. You have to be wise about your generosity. And on the other side of that, that if someone gives you a gift, let's have some wisdom in there. Even if the gift is, let us say, in your ordinary mind, nothing. You don't care about it. Maybe you don't want it. Maybe you think that they wasted their time and they're wasting yours. But that's your ordinary point. Let's put on a noble hat. Let's get some wisdom in there and recognize that they gave you a gift. Let's use this as an opportunity for you to show real gratitude, to thank them, to be willing to give them what they really wanted in the first place. When you ever give a gift, don't you want it to be well received? That's what you want. You want that gift to be well received. So always when you get a gift, make sure that you point out to the person that it is well received. You don't have to tell them that exactly, but you can give them a big smile. You can play with the gift. That in fact, this a way of example is that if someone gives you a business card, don't just put it in your pocket, but you got to look at it. You got to hold it. You got to see that it's precious. And then you put it in your wallet. Because in that regard, you're actually now receiving a gift from them that they really want you to have. But if you take that business card or whatever and don't pay any attention to it, then that's not showing generosity. And so this whole practice of noble generosity and noble gratitude is very deep within the practice of the Buddha. That in fact, when we deal with our wives and our loved ones, we should do that with a generous hearted nature. That if you're correcting a child, we need to help that child feel grateful for the help that they're getting. That I failed at that with my own daughter many times, and I recognize that. And so I've had to change to make sure that I give her the advice and the care and the attention that she wants. And then, in fact, if she's in service, if she brings me coffee or anything like that, I show her my gratitude for what she's done. This is the way of the Buddha, is that this combination of generosity and gratitude winds up, if we practice that, that's what's going to build Sangha. That when we charge money for the Dhamma, that's not the gratitude, generosity thing. Charging money means that it's a business deal, buying and selling. And I find this common within modern Western Buddhism, that they charge for retreats. And so, in fact, the model is very much like the psychotherapeutic model, to where the client goes to the psychotherapist with the idea that, oh, I'm going to be paying you several $100s an hour, and I expect you to do your job. I want value for my money. And because of that, I think that's the major downfall of why psychotherapy doesn't work. The psychologist and the psychotherapist almost never make friends with their clients. That's very, very rare. Generally, it's all a business deal. And what we need to do...
There's also,
Go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, with the business model, there's also the need to keep the client dependent on you. You know, like people are generally do psychotherapy for the rest of their lives. They're not like trying to get cured in 6 months.
Exactly. Right. And so this would be a major teaching. In fact, I'm really glad that you mentioned this, DJ, is that that's the kind of model that psychotherapy works best with, is when the client, out of the generosity of their heart, gives, the psychotherapist, out of the generosity of their heart, gives the client what the client wants and needs. And that will then cement that relationship, and it makes it more of a friendship. That's what I would promote. I don't want to be a guru. I don't want to be sitting up on a high pedestal. I didn't like it, in fact, when Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, or actually it was Ajahn Po. I remember one time when he wanted to put me up on a high rock. And I didn't like that at all. I think, in fact, over time, I've come to understand that he was actually testing me. He was teasing me. He wanted to find out, did I want to sit on that high rock rather than, and become the big teacher and all of that. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be close to the students, to be friends with them, to be part of the organization rather than the big boss. And so this is what we can find with the teaching of the Dhamma, is that we don't give people what they don't want. We give them what they do want. And I know that some people do want a guru. But as Tina Turner said, we don't need another hero. We've already got enough gurus. We've got enough heroes already. That what we really need is friends. And friends are almost always best built with the cement of generosity and gratitude.
Venerable, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This could be useful for others, but this is so relevant here. What about the situation where one has been practicing for a number of years and there's an opening, and the result is an explosion of gratitude. And there are so many who deserve or deserving of dana, of something special, and it's just overwhelming. What does one do in this situation?
Well, actually, I understand that in fact the Open Sangha Foundation is a way or a method where people can give donations to me. For the past 8 years now, we've been doing these groups, and so far there is no way, no student has ever given me money. In fact, it's been the other way around, that I've supported monks, I've supported people coming to Thailand, I've supported people staying in the Wats, because that gives me the opportunity of being generous, and generous to people who really appreciate that generosity. And so that brings that relationship closer. But I don't charge money from the students. I don't even make it possible for them to give money. And yet I understand the point that you're making, Brett, is that when you get the Dhamma from someone, that you have that desire to give back. And donations is not something that I need. I'm already a wealthy man. I live in a one-bedroom house, an old one, falling down. But it's my paradise. It's a mansion for me. I don't need a bigger or a better house. This is it. I live in paradise. And so I don't want more. We've got already enough motorbikes. We've got enough cars. In fact, the truck that we've got, it works just fine. It's a 1997, 25 years old, but it does the job that we need it to do, so don't need to go buy another one. This one's fine. So with that feeling of wealth, I've made my teachings available, or not my teachings, the Dhamma actually, made the Noble Dhamma available free of charge. And then you're asking the question, well, what do we do then to pay you back? And the answer to that would be time. It puts
And
some
not just
time
you,
into it. Pardon?
and not just you, and certainly not least yourself, but other teachers over the period of time that one's been practicing. One feels gratitude toward many people at certain points.
All
It's
right.
sincere, quite legitimate.
Okay. Well, now here's a way of thinking about it is that my gratitude for Bhikkhu Buddhadasa is unbounded. I can get tearful talking about him. I love him so much. And he's been dead now for 30 years. He died in 1993, but I knew him before that. Also, I have gratitude for Achan Po, even more so, because Achan Po, he put time into me. He was a real teacher. He did not speak English, but his time with me, he would sneak up on me to get me to wake up. He would bring me food at the wrong time. He would do things that put our relationship into a deep regard. And yet I will never be able to pay him back for the gifts of the Dhamma that he has given me. Never be able to pay him back. But I have done what he has requested. And that is the reason that I'm out teaching now, because I had retired. I had, the way that I would say it is that I joined the monkhood, the Bhikkhu Sangha, in order to leave the world. And then I disrobed many years later in order to leave that world too, to have freedom. And yet my relationship with Achan Po, he says, oh no, you have to come back. You have to teach. He wanted me to go back to Chicago. I didn't want to go. My wife didn't want to go. We were happy here. And then he wanted me to go to Phuket to help the monk that I knew there. His name is Virasak Viradamo. And he was the abbot of the Wat Dhammaram in Chicago. But I knew him when I was a young monk back in the 1980s, and it would have been quite an honor to go stay with him and help him teach. But Tam, my wife, didn't want to do that. And so we settled on, let's do it on the internet. And now I found out that actually I can gain great friends through the internet. We may never rub elbows with each other, but we can certainly rub good feelings together. So, with that as a foundation, how do I pay back Achan Po? The answer to is to pay it forward. That I'm actually right this very minute repaying Achan Po, and that brings him great joy. And so this is what we can see is that any benefits that you get from me, your gratitude for my generosity would be then to pay it forward, to help other people in the future with the Dhamma. But again, you don't give it to everybody. You only give it to those who want it. And so we can be careful about how we give it. But in fact, the way that I showed with Michael just a few moments ago is that the best gift that you can give an ordinary person is a smile. Give them your heart. Give them your warmth. And if they can see that you've got something that most people don't have, what most people have is a grumpy attitude. Most people have a victimhood. Most people don't like the IRS. They don't like the cops. They don't like the weather. They don't like the air that they breathe. They don't like the car they have. They don't like the people around them. And you can see that that's the standard life of an ordinary person. And there's most of them. You know, more than 90%, I would say probably 99% of the people do not enjoy their life. And they start waltzing into the room that you're in, or maybe you waltz, you're the one who's waltzing, and waltz into their lives, and you're happy, you're joyful, you've got something, and if they want it, now it's time to share it. But you have to wait until they want it. But if they want it, then's the time to start giving them the gift of the Dhamma. Start teaching them that they can start watching what's going on between their ears, that they can start seeing that they create their own misery. That it's, even though they don't like the smog and don't like the air that they breathe, they still don't do anything about it. Here, I mean, I'm really glad that I don't live in New York or Tokyo or especially Los Angeles. I live out on an island. The air is really good here, except that everything on the outdoors still gets dirty. The air is dirty wherever you are. The question is can you enjoy whatever air you've got? Can you enjoy your existence? And most people don't enjoy their air. They don't enjoy their existence. In fact, they don't even think about their air. And so here we come talking about anapanasati. Let's start paying attention to the air that we breathe. It's life-giving. And so this would be a way of introducing the Dhamma very easily, very casually, very slowly, to allow your friends to pick up on the joy that you can exude. And then, if you get pretty good at it and they start really asking you questions, you can actually start talking about the Eightfold Noble Path and the Four Noble Truths and start pointing out that the misery of the world is really not in the world. The misery that you have in the world is between your ears. It's right here. It's local. But there is one more point about that. And this comes from actually Jesus, and it's coming from Luke, the book of Luke, chapter 17, where he says, the kingdom of God is within you. Behold, the kingdom of God is right here. The very best. I use the word paradise often. That I live in a paradise, but I've had to create that paradise. And you can create your own paradise and then share that paradiseness with all of your friends. This is real generosity, is to give them the Dhamma. The Dhamma is absolutely the best gift that you can give. and you get this from me, you can pay it forward. You can give it to others. You can gain that joy. Does that answer your question, Brett?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, Michael, what you got on your mind?
Several things, I guess. Let's see here. Well, one thing that came to mind while you're talking is that I have a 17-year-old student in my English class who's the only believer. She calls herself. She's Christian. And the school I work at is full of anti-Christians, let's say, modern kids. And she's always very like strong in proclaiming her faith in Christ and being a believer and things like that. But so I've always kind of applauded her and admired her for her courage, just standing in her faith in that environment of teenagers who think that, if you're a Christian, you hate everyone basically. But the point I'm getting to is that she made a comment once that too many people focus on the religion when it's really about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And, and implied in her comment was your relationship with God, or, if you want to speak in Buddhist terms, with whatever is irreducible, what's unconditioned, and your relationship with other people. And listening to you talk about Ajahn Buddhadasa and Ajahn Po, the impressions they left on you is not like the words and the insights about the Dhamma, but the way they treated you, when they treated you
Mm-hmm.
kindly.
Right.
And I think in Western Buddhism, we get so focused on like the philosophy and the ideas and the abstractions that we forget that every religion is about relationships. It's about kindness and connection. And that's what people are going to remember. I mean, there's so much meanness in the world. And I mean, if this religion that we're discussing here can make us be kind to each other, then it's doing its job, really. And that's kind of what I was thinking about.
Excellent. And this is an excellent example, okay? So she is in a sea of non-believers, and she does not give them a gift that they want. She gives them the gift of Christianity, and they don't want that. And so she's making a stand, right? She's brave, courageous, but she's not making any friends that way. And what you could tell her instead is, instead of trying to show them the Christianity with your language and your stance, show them with your heart. Become friends with them. Let them recognize that your Christianity doesn't just mean something to you, that in fact it has transformed your life into a life of joy and happiness. But most Christians are never taught that. They're taught to take a stand. They're taught that Christianity is really important, but they really never see the benefit of it. And the real benefit of Christianity would be that you just not have a relationship with some sky daddy up there and all of it's in your head. But really, your friendship with God is with every creature, every person that you meet, everyone around you. That's where you can find your relationships. And so you might want to take her aside and point this out to her, that that if she can make friends with the students at school, she will be giving them the gifts that they want, and she will be giving the gifts that Christianity should be giving, rather than driving it home with magical thinking, like Sky Daddies. And I've got a couple of jokes about that.
Well,
dead
just so I
men
don't
walking. Go ahead.
Just so I don't misrepresent her, she really, everything you described is who she is. She's friends with everybody. She's kind. She's generous. She's supportive. She's, very central to our community at school. But she will make sure that, people know that that's like a foundation of who she is. That's pretty much it. She won't preach Christianity or anything like that, but she will say, "I am a believer." That's pretty much it. That's as far as she goes with it.
Wow. So she's doing a
But she's
great
very kind and
benefit.
sweet.
Hmm. Even
Yeah.
though they don't appreciate it because they're the ones who were holding the grudge against her because she's Christian. And maybe the issue is that
Yeah.
they're jealous of her because she's so open and kind and friendly and giving gifts.
Yeah, I mean, they project a lot of assumptions onto her, and she stands in her faith, as you know. And anyway, I think she's a good representation of the results of religion rather than the language causes, I guess you can say, linguistic causes. I mean, I feel like each religion has different words aiming at the same fruition. And I feel like those of us who express the fruit of our religions are the ones who are representing it best. And Buddhadasa said every religion is about overcoming selfishness.
Hmm.
And so I think in Western Buddhism we tend to get too heady about it, too philosophical about it, and we're all
Hmm.
frustrated with all the unkindness in the world, and if it can make us kind, then it's doing its job, basically, is kind of what I was getting at. And I felt like she was a good representation of that, and I felt like I had learned that from her.
In a way, Christianity, with all of this magical thinking about sky daddies and dead men walking and no fuck babies and all of that kind of stuff. But in Buddhism, that's my joke.
We got lots of magical thinking in Buddhism.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Buddhist jokes that I like too. But the point that I would make is that a lot of Western Buddhists are in deep magical thinking themselves when they are
Mhm.
into the philosophy, rather than living it as a joyful life. They become scholars. I mean, look at how many translations that you'll find. I mean, everybody who picks up a Pali Canon wants to translate it themselves. And we've got a huge number of translations, a huge number of Pali scholars, a huge number of people who read books and get all this intellectual information. But it's all kind of a magical process, magical thinking.
Some of it.
Hmm. But the reality is that it's very practical. Just like Christianity, if you practice it well, it's very practical. It's juicy, but not while it's magical. But if you actually listen to the teachings of Jesus, to be generous, in fact, that's one of the primary teachings of Jesus, is to be neighbors, to be friends, to be gift giving, to take care of the sick, to visit them when they're in jail, to go do something for them that they actually would appreciate and feel gratitude for. So this is the way that we could start living our lives. And as Michael said, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa doesn't even want people to convert to Buddhism. What he wants is to convert out of their ordinary life into a happy life, into a noble existence. And so we don't have to uh, we don't have to convert Christians. There's a lot of them, in fact, a lot of people who are leaving Christianity, but even when they come to look for Buddhism, they're still looking for magic. They're looking for uh, something to do it for them rather than recognizing that the real changes have to come from within. That is, you're not going to get flying through the air. You're not going to get Spider-Man's uh, zapping qualities and all of that kind of stuff from the teaching of the Buddha. That what you're going to get instead is the joy and the happiness and the contentment that you don't need any of that stuff, that you're already good enough. You're already wealthy. And so this is how we can spread the Dhamma, is by demonstrating to people that we've got what we need. We've got everything that we need. It's all a matter of an attitude. If we can change our attitude from the attitude of, oh, poor me, into, wow, look at that. So this is how we can spread the Dhamma. This is what we can give people, is our excitement, our joy, our gratitude, our generosity in heart to share pleasure. This is where the real teaching of the Buddha lies. That's where the real point is in friendship, in joy, in sharing, in giving people what they want, in giving people the feeling of gratitude. I mean, gratitude is one of the best feelings that you can have, to feel grateful that you've gotten so much. And so that's a feeling that rubs off. You can actually help people get that feeling of gratitude.
It is happening.
So, DJ, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have a few actually listing, and it's been wonderful. Thank you very much. One of the things was actually on generosity and dana on the website there, the Open Sangha Foundation. I noticed in that section there's a couple of suttas, and one of them goes over like the qualities of generosity, and it was interesting seeing them come up again and again, like giving a gift thoughtfully, that was one of the aspects. And that's so true. Like when talking about Dhamma, it's like giving it skillfully, right? So, packaging it in a way where people are going to like understand it and we can communicate it, and it can be something so simple as like a smile. And then another aspect too is giving without expecting anything in return. So that's another aspect with that free giving, and coming back to that aspect of dana. Oh, bye, Michael. Yeah, it's really just wonderful to see that, and how this whole generosity model functions with like, the Dharma. I'm, in all honesty, one of the reasons I wound up coming to this community and also just listening to so many of your talks, Dhammarato, is because part of what helps me evaluate a good Dhamma teacher, I suppose, is how much they charge. And the less that they charge, the better they are, I think. So grateful for everything that, you've provided, and just the community as a whole has been so just wonderful, and just connecting with people and being able to share the Dhamma. I mean, that's why, doing the Saturday night talks on Discord, it's like going in and sharing it and having this communal experience is so wonderful. Oh, and there was one more thing too. When we're talking about friendship and the Dhamma, it made me think of the sutta Half of the Holy Life, where where Ananda goes to the Buddha and is like, oh,
right,
this is half of the holy life. And he says, no, Ananda, this is the whole of the holy life. It's the whole thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the half sutta. The name of it is the half sutta. And
the half sutta.
The whole talk, the whole sutta is about the wholeness of friendship. That in fact, I could see that the friendship that Ananda was referring to was on the outside, but the Buddha was pointing out, no, the real friendship happens within. That you have to come to be friends with yourself, to forgive yourself. I don't really use the word forgiveness very much, but I would prefer to use the word nurturing, to be caring for yourself, to be able to see our wrongdoing, to love ourselves, warts and all. That the practice of the Dhamma is not to become perfect. The practice of the Dhamma is to become happy, joyful. And when you are happy and joyful, then you don't want so much, and so you're not out hurting people so much. But if you want to charge money because your livelihood depends upon the teaching of the Dhamma, the students who are the students of teachers who charge money, they don't ever learn this teaching of today about generosity. That in fact, what I have seen over and over again is teachers who charge money then want to teach generosity by out money grubbing. Oh, please give us money for free, even though we sold you the book and the coffee cup and the t-shirt. We still want you to give us money. And so taking all of that business stuff out of it and making it freely available, that this is heart to heart, not wallet to wallet. That's the main teaching of the Buddha is that it's heart to heart, it's mind to mind, not wallet to wallet. That, I mean, you have been exchanging money and putting money in the bank and spending money your whole life. Everybody's been doing that. And how much joy and happiness do you have through the exchange of money? Very little. In fact, we don't want to buy it. We want it cheaper. We want it for free. Well, that's how the Dhamma is given. It's given freely with no payback at all. It's always a pay forward to the next generation, just like a child can never repay her parents for the joy that they have given or the teachings that they've given, but they can pay that forward by training their own children well. And so think of it like that, that my parents, my Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, my Achan Po, have given me an enormous gift. I could never repay them, but I can pay that forward to you guys. So don't think about trying to pay me back. I've already got all the benefit that I want. What I'll get great joy from and great gratitude for is when you guys start giving the Dhamma freely to your friends. Corey, do you have anything to add?
I'm just enjoying the talk today, Dhammarato.
All right. How about you, Emim?
I do not. Everything is good here.
Everything is all right. All right. That's good. I get my joy from you guys when you're satisfied with what we're saying. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. Make it a real Christ Mass. Make it a real joy by giving people the gifts that they want. Give people what they will feel gratitude for getting. That's the way. Hello, folks. Hi.
Hey.
Well, I have you guys on my headphones, so you can't really hear you, but I told them to come say hi to my friends.
Right.
How do I get this off my headphones?
All
Everett,
right.
let's see here.
Dhammadas, do you have any last words?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
This is Dhammarato and others.
Just for sleeping. Do you have
Okay. This is my Zen master here, I call him.
Mm-hmm.
It's Everett, yes. Everett, my Zen master.
This is Amelie, my best friend Amelie.
Now he's getting excited. Now I can see his joy.
Yeah, hi Amelie. Yeah, hi Amelie.
Oh, yeah, she's only 4 months.
You say hi.
Yeah, hi.
Mom's sleeping too.
She's taking a nap.
And I learned drum music.
Okay, you can go now. All right.
All right. So, Dhammadas, do you have anything to add?
Nope, but thank you for everything.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, every day's a holiday. Every day is a day for joyful giving. Every day is okay. So, I'll see you again on another holy day.
You, Dhammarato.
Bye, friends.
Okay, well, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you, Brett.
Yeah, I thought. Oh, here it is. Here's the. I thought you slid it to the left, but I wasn't.
Okay, we'll see you.